welcome to MTOK News, bringing you information of the Christian world. I'm your national news anchor, Dustin Pfeiffer. And for our first story tonight, a Washington state law is enforcing employers to have insurance that covers maternity, to also include abortions. There is no exemption for houses of worship employers or employers of church-owned or operated organizations. This law was signed by the then Democratic Governor Jay Inslee in 2018. This law has been recently challenged by Cedar Park Assembly of God, located in Seattle, which filed a lawsuit against the state, which was reviewed by a district court, which had struck it down because, in the words of the court, the church had no standing. This case was then picked up by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which heard oral arguments on July 9th. The church said it believes human life is sacred from the moment of conception, and that participating in, facilitating, or paying for abortion is a grave sin. In a brief, the church objects to any involvement in any type of abortion under any circumstances. The Alliance Defending Freedom has agreed to take up the case for the fact that the religious liberties are being attacked by the state through this law, citing the Free Exercise Clause of the First Amendment and the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment as reasons this law is in violation of any church's right to freely practice its beliefs. And for our second story, a Minnesota state senator leaned on her faith in a decision to not abort one of her children. Senator Julia Coleman of the Minnesota State Senate gave birth to twins Charles and James on May 18th, just after 33 weeks of gestation, later to bring them home in June. The untold story is of her children one of her children was in deficiency in their growth, and that during one scan, James showed that he was in a 95th percentile when Charles' abdominal measurements were only in the 7th percentile, which we learned anything below 10 is a red flag because the organs are not showing any significant sign of growth. The doctors advised her to abort Charles to give James a better chance. However, her and her husband instantaneously agreed that was never on the table. They held to their faith and know that God has a plan for them, and they need to trust that plan. The lower percentile did not just prove to be a risk for just Charles, but for James as well, and that if their pregnancy continued, she'll be at risk of losing both of them. However, in a later scan, Charles was out of the red zone with within the 13th percentile. The senator credited the prayers of others for the safe arrival of both of her twins into the world. Senator Coleman is a Roman Catholic and has shared this story with the Catholic Spirit. And now we're going to go over to John with our international news reports.
All right. Well, thank you, Dustin, for those reports. We will definitely be sure to follow those up. We'll be sure to pray about the situations you've brought to our notice. And with that, let's head on over now to your international reports for the week. So we're starting in China, where even virtual isn't safe anymore. On July 11th, Shenzhen Trinity Gospel Harvest Church was interrupted during a virtual service over Zoom. Pastor Mao Chibin and Elder Chu Yangqing, sorry, I greatly apologize if there's anyone who speaks Chinese in the audience who knows how to pronounce their names. I am so sorry. Anyway, these two individuals were holding this service from the building, and the congregation was meeting over Zoom. The government officials forced the two men to stop preaching as the building was surrounded by more officials. This is not the first time that this particular church has been targeted. Communist Party officials also raided the church back in April, arresting many of the leaders with no charges. So really this comes back to, as we've said, there are many churches who are calling for the human rights violations in China to end, and so China has made it a point to target such groups. All right. Now we're going to Myanmar, where many are calling for the international community to recognize the rightfully elected government of Myanmar. Many of you may remember the coup that took place earlier this year in February, where the Tatmadaw, the military, toppled and arrested and imprisoned and just overthrew the democratically elected government of last year in Myanmar. Ever since the military takeover of the country, many nations have not known who to speak to for Myanmar. Any ambassador who criticizes the unlawful military coup is recalled to the country. The United Nations, for instance, has refused to acknowledge such recall. Many are hoping that the international community will stand united in calling for the return of the legal government of Myanmar. And many Christians have suffered in this incident. Many Christians have been persecuted in this incident. Many churches have been targeted because they offer refuge and safety for civilians. So we here at Many Tribes, One Kingdom are also calling for the return of the duly elected government of Myanmar. And we are calling for the military coup to end and for the military to lay down their arms and surrender to the will of the people of Myanmar. And our last report has to do with Algeria. So 5 U.S. senators have sent a letter urging the current administration in America to recognize Algeria's violations of religious liberty. We've covered several such reports in the past, such as Hamid Saudad, who was sentenced to a 5-year stay in prison for what was deemed insulting Muhammad. And all he did was share a post on Facebook. Was it Facebook or Twitter? Either way, he has been sentenced to a 5-year stay in prison. Cases like his are all too common in Algeria, which has followed several other Islamic countries in the implementation of laws that discriminate against religious minorities, particularly Christians. For instance, Protestant churches in the country of Algeria have been refused the right to reopen after the COVID-19 pandemic, while Muslim mosques have been given no such restrictions. This letter that was sent was bipartisan and is calling on the Biden administration to take action. Now we can only wait and see what will happen. And as always, we do ask that you please continue to pray for our brothers and sisters who suffer any form of persecution all across the world. Pray that God will give them the strength to endure with the patience of Christ. And pray also for the persecutors, guys, that the Holy Spirit will convict their hearts of their sins and bring them about to Christ. We here at Many Tribes One Kingdom do not believe anyone is beyond redemption as long as they still breathe. We believe that God can use the worst of sinners as the greatest of saints. And so we do ask, please continue to pray for these people. And with that, this brings your international report to a close for the week. So make sure you continue to pray. And now make sure you stay tuned for our hot topic debate for the week.
Hey guys, thank you for sticking with us through our MTOK news. Now welcome to our hot topic for this week. And as you can see, we have our guest back again, Miss Ashley.
Hi, again.
Can we even call her a guest at this point?
I don't know. Oh, I forgot. She's our newest member to the MTOK news team. Yay! All right, let's get started with this MTOK news. Oh, sorry, this hot topic. All right. So, John, what are we talking about this week?
All right. So Mississippi is calling on the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade.
All right. Now, for those of you who don't know what Roe v. Wade is, I recommend you get out from underneath that rock because it's been around since 1970. It is
1973. That was awful.
Well, either way. Anyways, it is Roe v. Wade was a Supreme Court decision that pretty much legalized abortions across the country and required all states to legitimize abortions.
Yes, and then a follow-up case in the 90s that did the same.
Yeah, sort of to reaffirm it.
Yes, so what this case really is doing is that it's calling for the Supreme Court. What's the name of the woman who's leading the charge on this?
Attorney General Lynn Fitch.
Yes, so she's really calling for the Supreme Court to look at the facts.
I mean, absolutely. And I didn't even know the Supreme Court could make a kind of ruling that would mandate all states to follow.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, on the legislative level, not on the court level.
I mean, they'd have to make it, and then they would have to change. The states would have to change their laws to fit the federal laws.
Yeah.
They'd have a bit of time to do that, obviously.
Yeah, and something that attorney. Sorry.
That's the way I understand it. Anyway, I'm not.
I know. I didn't pay attention in that part of class. Um,
But
I
typically,
was
the
busy.
legislative branch makes the laws. The Supreme Court, you know, the
It
executive branch
determines the
executes.
constitutionality of them.
Yes,
Yeah.
the Supreme Court
So
determines
really,
the
what they're doing is they're taking a look at this law and they're realizing that it's unconstitutional, and that's something that Attorney General Finch has said. Is that, you know, nowhere in our Constitution does it permit anyone the right to take life.
Right, and it's just she's trying to disprove the legality of Roe v. Wade and the mandate it enforces on the states to have such
Yeah.
laws.
So, guess we'll talk about this real fast. Ladies first. Ashley, what do you think?
I think it's good that she's doing this. I think from her leading it, and as a woman, I think that will speak to a lot of other women and just people in general who there are always going to be people who don't agree, obviously, but I think that's just how it is, and it's going to go to the Supreme Court and they'll make their decision based on the evidence. And things are different. That's one of the things she was speaking about in the article. So,
yeah. You want me to go next, Dustin, or do you want to go next?
You can go next.
Okay. So for me, I love this. I think it's great that people are finally going to stand up and take a look at this and realize the true crime that people have gotten away with for so long. I love what she said. First off, I agree with Ashley. I love that it's a woman leading the charge on this, because one of the chief accusations leveled against a man who is pro-life is that because I'm not a woman, I really can't have an opinion on this. So I greatly enjoy the fact that it's a woman leading the charge on this. I think it speaks volumes, for one. And I also like what she said. This decision was made at a time when we didn't understand things. Adoption has come very far, contraceptives have come very far, and science has proven that this is a living human being. Mm-hmm. So, of course, from the Christian perspective, of course, we have to preserve life because it's life made in the image of God. And even from the non-Christian perspective, we either have to say, okay, obviously science has shown this as a human, so the Supreme Court has to say we are going to pass a law that allows the killing of a human, to which many could raise the question, okay, well, why is it okay to kill this human and not okay to kill this human? So from either perspective, I think it's good.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. I do. Well, great. As a Christian myself, it's horrible to see such a law such a thing being passed in the first place. I mean, there's nothing legislative about this. I'm not even sure if this is even a legal maneuver by the Supreme Court, because they're treating Roe v. Wade and Casey versus Planned Parenthood, treating these things as if they are law when they are in fact not law. And Supreme Court can only officially, make statements or the constitutionality of something. And there's nothing here or anywhere that in the Constitution that says, oh yes, we can have abortions. Women have the right to have abortions. There's nothing constitutional. There's nothing constitutional. Let me correct that. Nothing beyond a medical reason to have an abortion.
Yeah. Well, I also like that, as the trends have shown already, many states have realized the error of this, and they're turning against it with the heartbeat law, which, Ashley pointed out to me earlier that many states have passed this. Mm-hmm. And so it's great. I believe it's great.
Yeah, many states have that.
Mississippi has such a law too.
Does Mississippi? Okay.
Banning abortions after 15 weeks.
Yes.
So it is a great turn of events, and seeing how the tide is now turning. And now, I find it to be an amazing thing. Beyond my Christian beliefs, it is something that every human being should be worried and concerned about.
Every person has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Absolutely. I'm not trying to bring this up to, reopen old wounds, but when we had the civil rights and segregation, this is something that I believe should have been hit on then. I mean, when we were talking at that point, when we were addressing the humanity of someone of another race, how can we not also do the same thing for humans in the womb?
Yes, I think it, of course, like I said earlier, it comes back to everyone needs to be treated with equality. There's no reason to harm somebody or discriminate against somebody, be them a different color, the opposite gender, or unborn yet. But, they're still living and they still have the same rights that the rest of us already should have.
Right.
So that's really all I gotta say on this. What about you guys? I don't know if you guys have anything to add.
That's it for me.
No.
All
That's
right.
fine.
So this concludes our hot topic for this week. So stay tuned for our media report.
All right. Well, thank you guys for sticking with us through the hot topic debate of this week. We hope you enjoyed it. And now I will go into your media report for this week. And we are going to be covering the top 10 Christian songs for the week. So at number 10, we have Jireh, featuring Chandler Moore and Naomi Rain by Elevation Worship and Maverick City Music. And it was released March 26th of 2021. At number 9, we have Rattle, the live version, by Elevation Worship, released April 24th of 2021. At number 8, we have Help Is On The Way, Maybe Midnight, by Toby Mac, released February 5th of 2021. At number 7, we have I Can Only Imagine by Mercy Me, released October 14th of 1999, so that's an old one. Well, not old, but it's old for me because I was born that year. At number 6, we have Look What You've Done by Tasha Layton, released April 16th, 2021. At number 5, we have You Say by Lauren Daigle, released July 13th, 2018. At number 4, we have Hold On To Me by Lauren Daigle, released February 26th of 2021. At number 3, we have Be All Right by Evan Kraft, Danny Goki, and Ready Me Too, released September 11th, 2020. And at number 2, we have My Jesus by Ann Wilson, released April 16th of 2021. And at number 1, we have Scars in Heaven by Casting Crowns, my favorite band, released June 4th of 2021. All right, so that does it for your media report, and now we will head on over to the organization of the week.
Thank you for sticking with us throughout all of our news segments, and now finally we're going to go to our organization of this week. This week we will be covering China Aid. And this is their mission. China Aid is an international nonprofit Christian human rights organization committed to promoting religious freedom and the rule of law in China. We believe that religious freedom is the first freedom, which lays the foundation for all other basic human rights. By exposing the abuses, encouraging the abused, and spiritually and legally equipping the leaders to defend their faith and freedom, China Aid strives to promote religious freedom for all. How they expose the abusers, Child Aid endeavors to expose the systematic persecution, harassment, torture, and imprisonment of Chinese Christians and human rights lawyers in China. They encourage the abused by China Aid financially supports the Chinese Christians and their family who have experienced persecution by the Chinese government, and they equip leaders. China provides leadership and rule of law training for Christian and church leaders in China to defend their rights under both Chinese and constitutional law and international law. Now, so for next week, some of you already know this, but me and John will be at a youth event for the Salvation Army. So our schedule's gonna be a little mixed up next week. There will not be an MTOK news, however, we will have something special ready and planned for you guys. So we thank you for sitting with us throughout all of the news. Thank you and have a most blessed day.